Hi, it's Pastor Paul L. Anderson here at the Fountain of Raleigh Fellowship, where we believe God's blessings never stop flowing. Oh, it's Worshipful Wednesday. It's on a day like today that you and I ought to be at the peak of our praise. I don't know about you, but I'm lifting my hands in the air and I'm thanking the Lord because I know truly He's the one who cares. He cares about you and He cares about me. And so much so that He left with us some words. Today, I invite you to look with me at Luke's Gospel, the 18th chapter, verses 18 through 30 from the New Revised Standard Version Updated Edition. A message that I have entitled, Letting Go to Truly Gain. Letting Go to Truly Gain. The story of the rich ruler in Luke 18 through 30 is one of the most striking conversations Jesus has in the gospel. A man with power, wealth, and influence asks Jesus, what must he do to inherit eternal life? Jesus' response shocks him and us because he cuts against the grain of what society values most. In this exchange, Jesus teaches about discipleship, wealth, humility, and the eternal perspective needed to follow him faithfully. This passage speaks profoundly to our moment in history. We live in a world where wealth inequities grow wider, where global conflict disrupts economies, and where celebrity deaths reminds us of the fragility of life, and where floods and climate disasters reveal how temporary our possessions can be. Jesus' words challenges every generation to ask, what am I holding on to that keeps me from fully following Christ? That's $1 million question. Well, in the first century Greco-Roman world, wealth was not only a sign of personal prosperity, but also of honor and influence. The wealthy elite were deeply tied to the political and religious institutions, controlling access to justice, leadership, and opportunity. To suggest that wealth could be a barrier to God's kingdom was radical. For the Jewish audience, the law was central to life. The ruler in his story proudly claims that he has kept the commandments, but Jesus exposes the heart issue. He loves his wealth more than God. This message has both political and economic weight, and it undermines structures that relied on wealth and status to maintain power. Today, a public policy debate wages over tax equity, student debt relief, healthcare, and social justice. This passage reminds us that God's kingdom does not operate by the same economics as earthly systems. Jesus asked for surrender, not accumulation. I believe in the backdrop of this passage, there are at least 4 points that you and I can glean some life insights. The first one is the illusion of a religious checklist. The ruler believed that eternal life was earned by doing. Many in our world still equate morality with checking the boxes, like attending church, doing good deeds, and following rules. As the Matthew Henry commentary notes, many rest on outward observances who are strangers to the power of godliness. True discipleship requires more than external compliance. It demands inward transformation. Therefore, you and I must examine our faith beyond our religious habits. Are we obeying God out of love or duty? Are we measuring our spiritual lives by appearances or by authentic surrender to Christ? Secondly, the challenge of wealth and privilege. The challenge of wealth and privilege. Jesus commands to sell all and give to the poor, reveals the spiritual grip of wealth. The Nurturing Faith commentary reminds us that wealth in the Bible often symbolizes misplaced trust. The Feasting on the Word commentary points out that Jesus is not condemning money itself, but the way wealth can obstruct our allegiance to God. Well, let's look at it in our contemporary world. With floods destroying homes, inflation straining families, and military conflicts draining resources, we see how fragile earthly wealth really is. The recent celebrity deaths reminds us that fame and fortune cannot be eternal. The church must model generosity and use its resources for justice and compassion. Thirdly, the cost of discipleship. Jesus teaches that following him may cost us dearly, our possessions, our relationships, even our social standing. Yet he promises eternal rewards. In the Interpreter Bible Commentary, it highlights that discipleship is not cheap grace. It is a costly commitment. Therefore, it applies to us in this way. For youth burdened with educational debt, parents juggling public policy debates over school systems, or communities struggling under global conflict, Jesus calls us to see the cost of discipleship is worth more than the fleeting promises of this world. And then lastly, the reward of surrender. The reward of surrender. Peter asked, "What about us who left everything?" Jesus responds with assurance. Sacrifice for God will be rewarded both now and eternally. The Brotman Bible Commentary emphasizes that God's economy is not loss, but gain through surrender. It applies to us in this way. In a world where floods and wars bring devastation, where economies rise and fall, and where lives of the famous end suddenly, we are reminded that only what is given to God lasts. Each generation, Generation Alpha, Generation Z, Millennials, Gen X, Boomers, and beyond must hear the promise, surrender to Christ brings true security. Let me recap our 4 points. The first one is that outward religion is not enough. God desires inward transformation. Secondly, wealth and privilege can blind us to our dependence on God. Thirdly, true discipleship costs something, but is worth everything. And then lastly, surrender brings eternal reward and present peace. I invite you to go with me as we go to God in a closing word of prayer. Gracious God, we thank you for the reminder that our lives are not measured by possessions or status, but by our surrender to you. Teach us to hold loosely the things of this world, so that we might cling tightly to your eternal promises. Give us courage to be generous in our world of scarcity, and to stand firm in times of political and social upheaval, and to walk faithfully in the steps of Jesus. Strengthen every generation to live with purpose and with hope. And may our lives reflect your kingdom on earth as it is in heaven. In Jesus Christ's name we do pray, with great anticipation and expectation of miracles to be wrought before our eyes today, as well as in the days to come. My brothers and sisters, always know that you're exceedingly and abundantly blessed. Take the Lord with you everywhere you go, and I look forward to talking with you again on tomorrow.
To sow a seed to the Fountain of Raleigh Fellowship, visit our newly redesigned website, thefountainofraleigh.org, and select Sow a Seed from the homepage. Also, giving has been made easier with the new Fountain of Raleigh app, available now in the Apple App Store and Google Play Store. Download today, select Giving from the main menu, and then follow the directions to complete your giving through Subsplash.
Thank you so very much for all of your gifts and donations that you've given to the Fountain of Raleigh Fellowship. We thank you for what you've done in the past, what you're currently doing, and what you will do in the future. Your gifts and donations helps us to spread the gospel of Jesus Christ, not only locally, but throughout the world. Thank you again for your gifts, and may God continue to richly bless you. It is here at the Fountain that we believe that we are exceedingly and abundantly blessed, and may you receive those blessings that God has in store for you.